Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Colleen and I'm pleased that you stopped into my kitchen today. And I was really happy with all of your comments and about the sheet pan dinners. So I'm going to do two more for you today and I hope that you enjoy them. They certainly make cooking go a lot faster. You can start them in the morning and have everything on the tray, cover it, put it in, except for the meat. I probably, well, depends on if you're refrigerating it. Then you could put even the meat on and pop it into the refrigerator and keep it until later in the day, and then it just goes straight into the oven. So these are fast and easy and delicious ways to make a whole meal without messing up a whole bunch of pots or pans. So I will gather up the things that we need to make and then I will be right back after this. Okay, I think I've got everything gathered up here, and because we want the chicken thighs, we're using chicken thighs today. I just find that chicken thighs, they cook up quick in the oven and they don't dry out. So if you're using a lot of vegetables, you have to be cautious that you're thinking about the amount of time each vegetable needs to cook. And you have to do the same with the chicken thighs. So chicken thighs in the oven take about 35 to 40 minutes to cook. And so we want everything else that's in the oven to be able to stand up to that. But chicken thighs do a really good job. So we're going to marinate them. And we are going to start off today with a half a cup of olive oil. And this just really helps. It's not only to marinate the chicken, but we're also going to use part of the marinade to marinate the vegetables as well. We need the juice of a lemon. And we don't need the seeds of a lemon, but sometimes they get in there too, and that's okay. People can manage to get around them, I'm sure. But if you're bothered by a seed or two, then you probably should do this over a small strainer or into another vessel and then pick out all the lemon seeds. And you should be able to get about a third of a cup of juice from a lemon. From a good ripe lemon. So actually I got a quarter of a cup because I'm at the 3/4 mark now. Now other things that need to go in there are 1 teaspoon of thyme. That's a pretty happy teaspoon right there. 2 teaspoons of oregano. Oops, maybe. Yes. I need a teaspoon of salt. And we're just going to need a half a teaspoon of pepper. And this goes pretty quickly. That's a full teaspoon. Half a teaspoon of pepper. I'm trying to do this in real time for you so that you can see how it goes and not be intimidated by the process. This is Dijon mustard, just 1 teaspoonful of that, and give this a good stir about. And the Dijon helps to emulsify it a little bit as well as add flavor to it that's kind of unexpected in there. And last, I'm going to chop up these I have these tiny little garlic cloves, and so you would need the equivalent of 4 regular cloves, and more is okay. This is not one of those dishes that you have to be very precise at. It's quite forgiving, so if you really love garlic, add more, and if you're not a garlic fan, add less. I'm just gonna give these more or less a rough chop, but I do want them spread out all over the place, and I want the garlic cloves to cook in the appropriate amount of time as well. We don't want them to be raw in the sheet pan when we're done. Now I should remind you right now, I have set my oven to 425 degrees, as you do with most sheet pan dinners, because the idea is to cook them quite high and quite quick. So I have a goodly amount of garlic there, probably more than 4 cloves, but I don't mind that. And there it goes. Gather up the bits that hit the counter, which was clean. And I'm just going to stir this up, and then I'm going to pour 2/3 of this into the bag with the chicken. Now I'm not just going to pour, but I'm going to kind of pour and scoop, which is a bit of a messy proposition for me, because the garlic otherwise will settle all to the bottom of the bag. Now I'm going to keep about 1/3 of this back to add to the vegetables that will also go on the tray. Now I'm going to give this a massage, and then I'm going to set it aside while I get the vegetables ready for this dish. Make sure that every bit of the chicken is covered with some marinade. And I am just going to set this aside. I'm not going to put it back in the fridge because I don't want the chicken to get colder than it was just now. So I'm going to clean up my work surface here, gather up my vegetables, and I'll be right back. My oven has come up to temperature. I'm just getting everything ready here for to get it started. I've waited about 10 minutes for the marinade to go to work. Now I'm going to go to work on the vegetables. I've pre-washed all of these, and I'm going to start with 1 pepper. I'm trying to make this bright and colorful, so I'm going to use this orange pepper, but you could use whatever color you happen to have. And I'm just taking the seeds out, and I'm going to cut them into basically bite-sized pieces. And I'm going to try and do that so that I don't take your eardrums out. And if they're, you know, different sizes, that's fine. I'm going to toss them all onto the sheet tray because I don't want to dirty any more dishes. And then I will be with the sheet tray. That's one of the things about this kind of cooking, sheet pan cooking, is that you definitely don't have so much to clean up. Yes, when you're done, you do have things like, you know, I'm going to have to take the parts that I would take off the vegetables, so the peels and so forth, I'm going to have to take them out to the compost, but I only do that once a day, so that's not a big deal. And you're going to have to put away anything you don't use, so you've got that to face, but other than that, it's pretty quick and simple. No extra dishes unless you want there to be extra dishes. Now we need I'm going to use a half of a red onion. Again, if all you had in your cupboard was white onions, then that's just exactly what you should use. This dish is a little fancier than the previous ones, just in the matter of ingredients. It's sort of Greek inspired, I guess, or maybe Italian. Very similar foods there, so I guess it could be either of those. And as we go along, you'll be able to see that. So I'm going to call it a Greek. I'll say it's Greek. A Greek sheet pan tray. Now I'm going to add to the onions and peppers. I'm just going to give these a quick rinse because I didn't do the tomatoes. And onto the pan. That's 1 whole pint of tomatoes. And I have 2 smallish zucchinis here. And I am just going to top and tail them. So take the blossom end off and the stem end. I've got a little string hanging on there. And then I'm just going to cut these zucchinis into bite-sized pieces. So probably I will half them. and then do moons. I guess that's what you call the halves, right? So I'll stack these up together, and I'm just going to cut through them. Again, these will cook, I hope, at the same rate. And if you cut them the right size, they certainly will. And you could use one large zucchini here instead of two smaller ones if you chose. And onto the tray they go. And we are going to now add the remainder of the marinade that we held back. We're going to add to the vegetables. And give them a roll around here to get them all coated using the best mixer we have. Now, if you don't like to get food on your hands, definitely you could use a wooden spoon to do this, to move it all around. I think everything's pretty well coated now. So I'm just spreading it flat out on the tray. And this is going to be another one of those meals where not only are my husband and I going to have dinner, but we also will have a couple of leftover dishes for his lunch. Now I'm just going to make a little spot for these thighs to fit into the bottom and spread out a little bit, because I want them to be cooked straight through. So if they get onto the bottom, and it's one of the reasons I'm using tin foil instead of parchment paper here, is the reflective heat will help to color these chicken thighs so that they're not all pale and funny. I do leave the skin on because I do think it helps to keep everything nice and moist. Now I'm just going to pour the last remaining little bits out here. Probably just got in your way, didn't I? And I'm going to wash my hands, and then I'm going to stick this into the oven. Now a reminder, it's preheated to 425 degrees, and I am going to set a timer for 35 minutes because that's when we do the last step that really takes this dish over the top. So I will see you in a few minutes. Oh my gosh, how good does that look, you guys? Now that's after 35 minutes in the oven. I'm just pulling it out, and I'm going to add to this sheet tray about 1/2 cup of feta cheese. All over, make sure spread the wealth here, and about 1/2 cup of kalamata olives. And that's what brings that's I think what brings the Greek to this Greek inspired sheet pan tray. And it's going to go back in the oven for another 10 minutes. Neither of the olives or the feta need to cook. They're just going to warm through and let the chicken finish cooking off. And I'll be back to show you how this plates up right in a few minutes. Oh my gosh, everybody, can you see this? This is a wonderful sheet pan meal. We've had this before, and it also freezes up quite well. I don't know about long term because I make this up and it goes into my husband's lunch, and it works perfectly for that. So just let me grab a spoon. I'm going to grab a slotted spoon here. Actually, I might go back for a spoon that actually will hold some liquid, because these chicken thighs let off a lot of juices that are just delicious. Oh my gosh, everybody, look at this. I have just taken this out of the oven. You can probably see it's still piping hot. I've got a couple of beautiful, I would say they're perfectly cooked chicken thighs here, and then the medley of vegetables along with the olives and the feta cheese. And this is what we will be having for dinner tonight. And I hope that you'll give this one a try. There is a couple of steps, but I don't think there's anything in it that's overwhelming, and I'm sure that you will enjoy this very much. So consider giving it a try. And I'm leaving time here for a meal that I'm going to make tomorrow. So stick around and see what's coming up next. Well, hello everybody and welcome back. The second dinner that I'm cooking today is sheet pan pork chops. And we happen to love pork. Both of us were raised on a farm, and we ate a lot of pork because it was a cheap meat to raise. So we ate a lot of pork and we still love it today. So this is going to be kind of a traditional dinner, full on just potatoes, veggies, and meat. And we're going to start off. I went off to the farmer's market and I found some carrots, and I'm just going to peel these guys because they're nice and fresh from the garden. Actually, they're fresh from one of our cousin's gardens, who grows great big gardens for the market every year, and we sure appreciate her. She has two wonderful little kids, her and her husband, and they really are interested in food security, and they have been coming to the farmers market here where we live for quite a number of years now, and we really appreciate what they bring. And this doesn't take long. I'm trying to do this again in real time so that you can see that these sheet pan meals come together pretty quickly, and that there's no big steps in them that would cause you to have any kind of problem at all. You can do these and be successful every time. I've got the oven preheating to 400 degrees, and I'm going to get this out of my way. Put it in the sink back there. I'll deal with it after because I forgot to get out a little bowl to put my compost stuff in. Now I'm going to just clean these up. There's the oven saying it's ready. And I can see I'm going to have to give these a quick rinse again because some of the dirt transferred from the board. There we go. I'm going to save myself a little headache. I'm going to flip the board over. I'll have to clean that after. And I am just going to go through these and make some bite-sized pieces. I've picked out pretty thick center-cut pork chops for this meal tonight. And you want them to be pretty thick, somewhere in the neighborhood of 3/4 of an inch or an inch. And I'm going to throw these, well, first I think I'm going to add a little pan to my sheet tray. And then I'm going to throw these guys on. I'm definitely going to add some olive oil to them, but not right yet. Yeah, maybe right yet. I'll add a little oil, and I'm using a really light olive oil today. I'm going to mush that around. This is just two of us tonight, so this might look like a skimpy tray, but I assure you that it's going to be enough dinner for the two of us. I'm going to grab a rag, get a kitchen towel, and get the oil off my hands. And I'm going to add a little salt and a little pepper, and I'm going to add some dill to this. Now, if you haven't tried dilled carrots, you should. It's definitely a good combination. You could also make a mixture with butter and brown sugar to make this more of a caramelized carrot, and that would be good too. I'm going to grab some potatoes, and I've got about a pound of red potatoes here. They're tiny little fellas. And I'm going to cut them all. Some of the ones that are bigger I may quarter, but I think most of them I can just cut right in half. And, oh, I see one with a bad spot. Let's take that out while we're here. I'm going to leave the skins on because we enjoy the skins on, and there's lots of fiber in the skins, so it's really good for us. So I'm definitely going to do that. And I feel like this is probably too many potatoes for the two of us, because neither one of us are big potato eaters. The reason for that, you might ask? Well, again, it goes back to the farm. Potatoes hurt my back. All that digging in the dirt and bending over to plant them. And then digging them up when they're finished growing is definitely a pain in the back. So you learned on the farm not to enjoy potatoes that much. That way you didn't have to plant so many or tend to so many either. Although they were certainly something that grew easily and in abundance too. So I'm going to do the same thing here with the potatoes. I'm going to give them a few glugs, probably 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I'm going to run them around. I'm going to try and get them flattened out enough so that every potato has at least one surface that is on the sheet tray. And there we go. Most of them I've put cut side down here. And these little fellas should cook up really quick, which is what we want because we are adding everything at the same time. So everything should cook about 30 minutes roughly in the oven. And I am going to add some seasoned salt, just whatever brand you're used to using. I'm going to add some seasoned salt onto the potatoes. And I'm going to add a little pepper. There we go. Now, let's get to work on the pork chops. So for the pork chops, I'm going to make them kind of Italian style, Italian roasted. So I'm going to need about a half a cup, not quite, probably a third of a cup of Parmesan cheese. Now you can use this freshly grated, or you can use it out of the shaker the way that I am. And both ways will come up good. And I'm going to add to that 1 package of Italian seasoning that's got no MSG added. And it's also gluten-free. And I'm going to add that in there. And just to pep it up a little bit, I'm going to add about 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder and 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder. And I'm also going to add about a teaspoon of oregano, which is how much I have left in that jar, and that'll just pep that up. I'm going to give this a good stir through. Add a little salt. I'm actually going to salt right directly onto the meat. And you can see that wasn't much. And do the same thing again. Turn them over. And because I want the mix to stick, I'm going to add just a little bit of olive oil, and I'm going to rub that in both sides so that the mix has something to stick to. Now, if you hear some thumping and banging going on, it's because we have some contractors here that are working on the exterior of our house. We're having it re-sided and painted. And I've been holding off doing these videos because they're making a lot of noise. But they're kind of to the painting stage now, so it's not nearly as noisy as it was. But anyway, I hope it's not too distracting for you. I really wanted to get dinner on, and at the same time, I wanted to be able to make a video. So hopefully it works out all right. Now, last one. And I'm doing the sides as well. I have quite a bit of the powder left over. Now, this recipe is actually for 4 chops, but it's just my husband and I, so 3 chops work perfectly for us. So I do have some left over. Unfortunately, I'm not going to keep that because it had meat in it already. So I'm going to get rid of that. And now I'm going to wash my hands. I'm going to pop this right into the oven at 400 degrees, and I'm going to set a timer for 30 minutes, but I will check on it along the way to see how everything's doing, because everything that we've got in the pan right now should be ready, should be cooked in 30 minutes. And I will see you back here to show it off when I'm done. Well, here we are, folks. Here is dinner at our house tonight. We're having pork chops, roasted potatoes, and fresh carrots from Jen's garden. And we're going to definitely enjoy this a lot. It smells wonderful. I checked my chops with the meat thermometer, and they checked out really good. So this is what's going on my plate tonight. I hope you've enjoyed these sheet pan meals. Some of you asked for another round, so I did another round, and I find them really super easy. You can do these any weeknight, and the cleanup is absolutely great. There's not a lot of pots and pans, and when I'm done with this, I can crumple up the tin foil or the aluminum foil, and I can throw it in the garbage, and that ends most of the mess. So folks, if you enjoyed this, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do that. And I will be back again next week. Hopefully by then things will have calmed down around here, the siding will be on, and the painting will be finished, and I'll be able to post regularly as I do on a Tuesday. And I want you to all take care until I see you again, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.